Okay, class, so these are the Spanish edition of the notes. So hopefully, if you are having some difficulties with some of the terms and you are not a native English speaker, then this will help break down some of those barriers. So these first notes are over atoms, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the notes, maybe draw a few pictures, and then we'll go from there. So what we're going to cover first is something called atoms, or los átomos. And atoms provide for the unification or the togetherness of all stuff that you see in the world. So we'll call that la unificación de las unidades de la materia. La materia, or matter, as you will hear me say, in química or chemistry, es cualquier cosa que tenga masa or mass. La materia está hecha de átomos or atoms. Todo esto, excuse me, todo está hecha, todo está hecho de átomos, incluyendo ustedes. So everything is made of matter, including you. You guys are actually made of a select few chemicals, which I will talk about in the unit. Matter, or la materia, son como una casa y los átomos son como bloques en una casa. So basically what I'm saying is an atom is like a block, and if you put a lot of these blocks together, you're going to get a house. Atoms are the building blocks of all things. Los elementos químicos son átomos de diferentes tipos. Un átomo es la unidad más pequeña del producto químico. Por ejemplo, una unidad de hydrogen es un átomo de hydrogen. So an atom is the smallest unit of a chemical element. So if you see something like hydrogen or H, the smallest unit or the smallest part of H equals an atom. Atoms are made of three smaller parts, or in Spanish that would be los átomos están hechos de tres partes más pequeñas llamadas partículas subatómicas. These three parts are called protones y electrones. Protones tiene una carga positiva. Neutrones no tenga la carga. Están neutral, y electrones tiene una carga negativa. So protons have a positive charge, neutrons don't have a charge at all, and electrons have a negative charge. So we talked about atoms, now we need to talk about something called elements. Elementos químicos son los átomos con diferentes números de protones. So the number of protons identify what element an atom represents. La identidad de un elemento está determinada por su número de protones. Diferentes elementos pueden tener el mismo número de electrones o números variables de neutrones. The main thing is that if you have an atom, you need to look at the number right here. This number, el número aquí, describes what atom you're looking at. So this 4 means that this beryllium has 4 protons. Just like if we were to zoom out and go over here to this guy, nitrogen. Nitrogen has a big 7 in the corner. That means it has 7 protons. So the difference in the number of protons identifies what atom you are talking about. So all these guys are atoms on this periodic table, but they have different numbers of protons in them, which makes them different elements. Diferentes elementos pueden tener el mismo número de electrones o números variables de neutrones. So even though they have each atom that is different from one another has a different number of protons, their numbers of electrons or neutrons can change. Okay? So the main thing is electrons and neutrons can change. Actualmente hay 118 elementos identificados. So what that means is that there are currently 118 elements that scientists have identified. That has gone up in the past couple of years. That may continue to go up as we continue to have more scientific advancements. El núcleo atómico es the nucleus of an atom. ¿Cuáles son los tres tipos de partículas subatómicas? So that would be protones, neutrones y electrones. Los protones y neutrones se encuentran en el núcleo atómico o el centro de un átomo. So protons and neutrons are in the center of an atom. If we were to look at this picture right here, okay, this is the center, el centro de átomo. So this would be a proton. That would be a proton, proton, proton. Neutrón, porque tiene no carga. Okay, so there's no charge here. So we'll put a 0 there. Cero, no charge, no carga. And then if we zoom out, los electrones orbitan alrededor del núcleo. So if we look around the nucleus, we have electrons. Remember, electrones tiene un carga, electrones tienen el carga de negativa. So, una carga negativa. So, this would be a negative charge, and they are orbiting around the atom. Okay, so orbitan alrededor del centro del átomo. So these guys go like that, okay? Now, something important. There are 6 protons here, okay? So let's find out, let's practice. What atom is this, okay? ¿Qué átomo es? So if we go up, we go to this table, we look for a 6. There's 6. There's a big C there. That C stands for carbon. That means we're looking at a carbon atom, okay? Porque tiene 6 protones, okay? So this would be carbon. Cuando neutrones, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 neutrones. ¿Cuántos protones? So let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 electrones, no protones. And then, how do we read one of these boxes that we see in a periodic table, okay? So the atomic mass number is the average mass of the atoms in the element. So some carbons, these guys, will have, all carbons will have 6 protons, but some might have 6 protons and 5 neutrons. Some carbons could have 6 protons and 6 neutrons. And then some carbons could have 6 protons and 7 neutrons. Okay? The average mass would be the protons plus the neutrons. So 6 plus 5 is equal to 11. 6 plus 6 is equal to 12. And 6 plus 7 is equal to 13. 11 plus 12 plus 13 is equal to what? So 11 plus 12 would be 23, plus 13 would be 36. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Okay? So the average is our average mass. The atomic number is the number of protons. Número de los protones. The symbol would be an abbreviation, okay? One letter of the word, so we choose the first C. The element name would be carbon. Now, a funny thing about the symbol, so if we erase this, okay, some elements actually have a different chemical symbol than the name. So one example would be potassium, which is abbreviated by a K, but potassium is spelled Potassium. Starts with a P, but it has a K. Why? Well, the K is from the Latin origin of the word or the Greek origin of the word. So sometimes if they ran out of P's, they would use a different letter, and they would use the Greek or Latin name. Prime example would be sodium. So let's erase this again. Sodium is spelled S-O-D-I-U-M, but the chemical symbol is Na. Na is short for natrium, which is actually Latin for sodium. So if you see a different symbol, if you see a K for potassium, okay, that's right. You're just looking at the symbol, which they used the Latin beginning of the word for, okay, to kind of separate, because another element called phosphorus starts with a P, but we already used that P for that chemical symbol, so we had to come up with something new for potassium, so we used the K. Don't get caught up on it. Your punchline is what you guys need to know from the notes. So this is in English because we do have to work on your English, okay? But all of this stuff you have seen in Spanish, so hopefully we shouldn't have any complications here. You need to know that atoms are building blocks of matter, okay? They're building blocks of matter. What does that mean? If we go back up to our little brick in our house, okay, matter's like the house, atoms are bricks. You need to know the 3 subatomic particles of an atom, okay? Protones, or protons, tiene una carga positiva, so a positive charge. Neutrones, or neutrons, no tiene una carga, so they don't have a charge. They have 0 charge. Los electrones tiene una carga negativa, or they have a negative charge. Electrons have a negative charge, okay? You need to know that. That is muy importante. Know how to identify an element based on its chemical symbol, atomic number, and mass number. Okay, this is important, this is important, and this is important. The main thing is this is only the number of protons. This is protons plus neutrons. And that refers to this guy right there. That's important. You need to know the location of the 3 subatomic particles of an atom. So if we have an atom, protons are in the center. Neutrons are also in the center. This is called the nucleus. And electrons orbit around it. So we'll have 2 over here, and then we'll have 1 over here. The location of the subatomic particles is important to remember. That's all. El fin.